Hey guys, welcome back to Double the Hustle podcast. I'm Tori.
And I'm Anna, and today we have a special guest on, Dave Reggina. He is a leadership expert, the host of the NO Snooze podcast, and the founder of Ace Sanctuary. Come along, watch the pod, and get amazing value. Let's go. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate you.
Thank you guys.
We're excited to have you on because I follow you on social media. I don't know if Tor does, but
yeah.
I follow you on social media and I love your content. I feel like we just had our last episode that will be coming out is about how to network and how to create proximity to get you further. Because sometimes it's who you know, not what you know. And that'll get you further than anything will in life. So I feel like I follow you and I feel like that's what you're all about, like with your community and creating like just a place where people could network and be. So if you want to give a background of just so everybody knows who Dave is.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you guys for having me on. It's important doing what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
I love podcasting myself. I've been in the game for a little bit. But typically, man, I grew up Mount Vernon, New York. Outside New York City and had a typical upbringing from what I thought, and then quickly realized my upbringing wasn't that normal. Was very addicted to sports growing up.
Yep.
And programs, activities, and services, which actually led me down a path of local government, which I'm in now as well. But there were some stressors in the home. Mom was addicted to drugs and alcohol for the first 28 years of my life. She's sober 6+ years, and I shout her out every time I have an opportunity to talk.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Good for her.
You don't
Absolutely.
hear that. Sometimes it goes down the
Listen,
wrong way.
my mom is a hero of mine. Anybody that is struggling with anything out there, you can change your life, right? But you have to want to change your life, and she actually did that. So between her and my father, we have 2 other kids as well. So my brother and sister. I'm the oldest. Had to grow up pretty quickly, and I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease when I was 16. And people look at me now and they're like, "Oh wow, like you've got it together physically."
Yeah.
Wasn't always the case.
Yeah.
In high school, I lost 40 pounds in 4 to 5 months. I went from 190 pounds down to 153, and that was a tough time to look back and still be able to move forward the way that I have. It's one of my proudest accomplishments for sure.
Yeah.
So, when even on my podcast, I introduce myself as Dave the Body Regina because I built this. Right? So I'm damn proud of it. So I mean, that's a little bit about my upbringing. Was definitely, there were some adverse moments.
Yeah.
But I was just talking to Mike in the car on the way up here, and I'm like, wow, I would not be here without the tough experiences coming up.
We always say that.
And it shapes you, it molds you, but that's an intention, right? And everything that you do in life, everything that I do in life is based around intention. So I don't get into things, whether it's something like this and coming out to meet you guys, unless there's a proper intention behind it. And my intention today is to come have a great conversation, to learn, to serve, and hopefully empower somebody behind the scenes.
Totally. Yeah.
Which is really cool. I didn't realize how much like we had in common. Like us growing up, like we thought we had a great upbringing too, but like our mom and dad are both separated, but we fell into sports too. And that's our whole podcast is based about how sports, I feel like, is probably the number one thing you could do growing up that will put you in a better place. We rode D1 crew. We got recruited to row for Temple University. And that was probably the best experience that I've ever been through.
Looking back on it, when we were in it wasn't.
Like this sucks.
Exactly. Anything you look into, even when you're under stress, like you, in that moment, you're like, I don't want to be doing this, but you thank yourself when you're out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. I think one thing that we can all attest to is the power of discipline, and what it does for you once motivation leaves you. So if you want to speak on that, I know every day I see your 4:30 a.m. post about reading the Bible, and then you attack that day based on discipline. So
it wasn't always that way, right? Like, again, even in my 20s, made a lot of bad decisions. I'm 35 now, so I finally feel like I have it together, right? So what you're seeing now is a version of Dave that absolutely was not this way. I wish I was doing this type of stuff back then. But yeah, I mean, discipline is extremely important. Really what it means to me is being able to resist temptation and also embody self-control.
Yeah.
Now, if you could do those two things strategically and intentionally every single day of your life, you're going to be fine in life. You're not only going to be able to be fine, you're going to be able to accomplish things. And I'm addicted, very addicted to accomplishing goals.
Yeah.
And not only accomplishing goals, I'm addicted to like creating them in my mind before they happen. You could call it some form of manifestation or meditation, but I know that it's my daily discipline. I live and die by discipline, you know, but self-control to me and temptation are really hard, you know? So for a long time in my life, I was tempted by the wrong things and would give in. Whereas now when I have a goal, right, I just know that every action that I take either is adding to that goal or not adding to the goal. It's very simple, right? We make things like very difficult, whereas motivation I think is great too.
Yeah.
But motivation is very fleeting.
Yeah.
Motivation is like a shower, right? And you know, if you don't shower for 3 days, you're gonna smell like shit.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the same thing with motivation. Like sometimes that shower is gonna be there and you're gonna be all soaked up, but that motivation leaves you real fast. So, I mean, to me, I think discipline is very important. Just because it drives everything that I do, and being able to do the things that you know are going to add value to your life, even when you don't want to do it, is probably the goal.
That's probably the key. That's what gets you to the goal. Exactly.
Yeah, because if you feel the same way, if you know you're supposed to do something and you don't do it, you feel like shit.
Yeah.
And then you feel like shit while doing it. So you may as well just do it and feel like shit while doing it.
Right.
And feel proud of yourself at the end, than not doing it at all and just continue to feel like shit the whole time. Which I think is, you know, I think it's a lot of people our age don't.
How old are you guys?
23. So they don't realize that. Like now people aren't taking the time to like build themselves up. They're not working on stuff now, you know, and making it hard now and easy later. They're just trying to figure it out, and it's going easy, and it's going to be extremely hard later when they find out like they actually have to be in life. And I think that's where our generation kind of falls off. I mean, I hope that at least like my kids, I can instill that into them, and even like your little girl, you could instill like that into her, because it's like looking at my dad growing up, I seen him fight, you know, and be hustle and motivated and everything. So I feel like that instilled it in me. So I hope that, you know, that your little girl sees it too. And I'm sure that she does, you know, I'm sure she looks at you like a superhero, you know? So I just feel like that's where our generation lacks horribly, is just, you know, trying to create that discipline, or even realize that that's what you need.
It's very short. They try to do their goal and then
they stop.
they want it to happen tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. Well, we all do, right?
Yeah.
We like, it's like the microwave.
Short gratification. Yeah.
It's the microwave approach, right? You put something in the microwave in 30 seconds, it could be boiling hot, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't last very long. So you need to be more like the oven, right? An oven is a process, right? So you need to hit that preheat button on the oven. It's got to preheat for about 20, 25 minutes, get to your desired temperature of 425. To bake that cake, though, it's got to sit there for 45 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a
Facts,
big difference
so
between the
true.
30 seconds. So, delayed gratification, I think, is something that society often looks at. Like even me, like physically.
course.
Again, people will look at me and they judge it like, oh, yeah, like he probably did that overnight.
Yeah.
I'm the 17-year overnight success.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, it's everybody thinks that it happens overnight, but nobody actually knows what it goes through. But for somebody that doesn't have discipline, maybe it's our age, like what do you think they go after to get that, like that discipline, to realize that it's there, or like to switch up their life and change it from now forward? Where do you think they start?
I mean, I think everything is in routine. There has to be some level of routine.
Yeah.
And the truth is, we all have this within us. The power is already inside of you. Anybody that's listening to this podcast, you're making a conscious decision to want to be better in your life, right? You guys are putting out a very positive message. So it's already there, because there are individuals that, you know, they just are okay with being complacent. I typically don't surround myself with those types of individuals.
Right.
It's not that it's bad.
Yeah.
It's just not something that I could really relate to.
Right.
So I think the power of routine is extremely important. And I think where a lot of people go wrong is they try to do like 58 different things. Whereas the truth is, if you're just trying to build discipline into your life, you have to be able to work towards something, right? Like I don't know anybody in the world that hasn't felt cold water.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's cold.
Yeah.
But now it doesn't matter what you're doing in life. Now, if you just want to build discipline into it, do something like that, right?
Right.
While you're showering, throw that water on cold. Do 30 seconds. Accomplish 30 seconds. Now, the next day you come back, make it 35 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be able to do things in your life that you're creating the power of the external world.
Right.
Right? Like, so you have to be able to tap internal to get the external. I think very simple things are important, especially for your age individuals, like even making your bed. Right. I know a lot of individuals that don't get up and make their bed. But why is it that the majority of successful people make their bed?
Right.
It's because they have discipline and they understand that they're able to work even when they don't want to do it. Like no one really wants to wake up and like, oh my God, my bed be made. Like, no, you just have to start doing these things.
Yeah, and then it automatically just happens. Yeah.
It's so crazy. I think about it every day as I'm making my bed.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever seen like the statistic that's like, if you make your bed, like 200% of people who make their bed become like a millionaire.
Millionaires,
Yeah. And I'm just like,
I don't know about that part, but yes.
As I'm making my bed in the morning, I'm like,
so there's
this
a really
is something good that you're doing. Just keep doing it.
Have you heard the speech with the Navy SEAL?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's called Make Your Bed, and it's a book too.
It's
and
a
this
book?
is, it's a book. So this is something that is so simple for everybody, but you have a Navy SEAL veteran, one of the most resilient men in the world, telling you and writing a whole book and giving a keynote speech at the University of Texas that the most important thing you could do in the morning is make your bed. Why? Because it sets your day up for success.
Yep. Right.
If you allow life to attack you and bring you down, that's exactly what's going to happen. But if you make a decision to get up, hydrate yourself with some water, make your bed, throw a positive podcast in, take a little cold shower, you're better than 90% of the world.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
You've already done it.
And then move your body. Now you're better than 95% of the world. And now you can go into work and go attack your day. So I think discipline and routine is extremely important because you begin to create the life that you want. Not that life isn't going to hit you, because it is.
Yeah.
But anybody, like you were saying before, it doesn't matter if you're 20, 25, 30, 60.
Yeah.
Discipline is important.
Yeah.
Creating that routine is very important. How'd you start your community? What is it, Ace Sanctuary?
Which one? Ace?
Yeah. How'd you start it?
Yeah, so Action Cultivates Excellence. I run that alongside with my partner, Sean Degnan.
Yep.
He'd be a great guest for your show, by the way. I could put you in contact with him.
Yeah, definitely.
Just a true leader of his life. But, men especially, we struggle with being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And for a long time, that's exactly what I struggled with. My life was in shambles. I was in a relationship that went south. I was making really poor decisions. I was drinking far too much. I was utilizing recreational drugs. Didn't believe in therapy because therapy was stupid to me, because I had an experience with a family member, and it was just the worst experience ever. So I needed something like Ace. And it wasn't until I changed my life, right, through like habits, routines that I'm sure we'll talk about more,
Right.
that I then, along with Sean, we had a conversation on my podcast, the No Snooze podcast, and it was a different type of conversation. At that time, I was getting anywhere between like 500 to 3,500 downloads per episode, and that episode did 10,000.
Wow.
And Sean doesn't even have a following like that.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
he's got a very loyal following, but it's not like he had 300,000 followers.
Yeah.
Right.
Probably had 2,000 followers at the time.
Yeah.
And they all watched.
Yeah, literally every person watched it. So the conversation we knew was a little bit different, but he was also on that same trajectory. Like, he battled anxiety, depression. He recently lost his father a year and a half ago. So like, we just started talking about the vulnerable things and the tangible takeaways of our life and how we've been able to change.
Yeah.
And we basically just created that. We created a safe space for men. We have a tagline where we bridge the gap between masculinity and vulnerability to create, what we believe to be a modern leader.
Yeah.
Leadership, I believe, is the most important thing, because everybody is a leader of your life. And we just happen to provide a platform for men who either they feel like they're an alpha male or they feel like they're weak. As long as you want to grow, then that community is for you.
Yeah. I think it's huge, especially for men. Like, they I feel like they have to keep everything inside, you know, and I think it's huge to be able to have like a community like that for anybody, not just men, but I think it's huge to have somewhere to go that like you trust, you feel comfortable, you know, whether you work out with these people or whatever you guys do at your events, I think it's huge. And putting yourself around those people who want to be better will make you better, you know, automatically. I think I want to create some kind of community, whether that's networking or, you know, a space for people to come and build and grow together. But I think that it's, like we said before, that proximity is just key for like men.
It opens up many more doors.
Yeah, for people to chase and go after their dreams and realize that it's not crazy what they want to do. They can actually, it's actionable. They have to just take the steps to do it. And I think leadership is huge. And like you said, on No Snooze, that's the podcast that you run. You guys talk about leadership. Is that what the podcast is on?
I mean, essentially, it's a call to action.
Gotcha.
Not snoozing on your life. Right? The first thing you see in the morning is that snooze button. I don't snooze.
Get up.
So that's where the name was really derived from, because that, I believe, is actually the very first opportunity for you to take control of your day.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You have an option. Go back to sleep on your dreams and aspirations, or wake up and attack everything that you do.
I think have you heard Mel Robbins?
Yeah.
She does the same thing, like where you count down
5 seconds.
Yeah, 5 seconds in your bed before you get up and don't press snooze. So I think that's really cool, because it's really key. I mean, even like we said, even before you get up and start making your bed, like that's the first thing. And most people, like when you're sleeping, you're half awake, so like you have to like make a decision then, or else you have like 5 seconds before you fall back asleep and it's just gone. Like then you wake up to your alarm and you're like, holy shit, I just lost an hour. So I think that's really key, you know, to talk about the No Snooze. But I want to get back into your community, because I think it's a place where people could go. But what do you do for men there? What like if somebody's watching and they want to join, where do they go, and what is it going to help them do?
Yeah, so we do multiple things, but it started with a men's leadership dinner. We do that once a month, and that's strictly for men.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and we give men an opportunity to get up and introduce themselves in front of 40 other entrepreneurs. This thing has grown to, you know, a sellout dinner every time. We keep it intimate because that's our style, right? We can easily run a networking event with a couple hundred people. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but like we focus on the intimacy and really building men up from the ground level. So the first piece of it is like public speaking, right? Getting comfortable in front of a group of other men, and they basically do their pitch, right? Who they are, what they do, what type of impact, and why they're in this community. Then we do what's really the gold of ACE. It's the vulnerability breakthrough developments. We call those VBDs. And basically, Sean will take a group, I'll take a group, a couple of the other leaders will take a group, and we focus in 8 to 10 guys on the things that we're actually struggling in our lives with. So not only do you get a great dinner, but you get a great conversation. And that is really where I think the breakthroughs happen and the brotherhood is created. So that's one version of it. We also do co-ed workouts, because the women, they were like, hey, what about us? And we're like, look, I mean, you know, in the way that I live my life, like my partner, Katie, she's the most important thing to me, obviously, besides my daughter. So typically next to a strong man, there's a strong partner there, right? Whether that's male, female, whatever the choice is, no problem. So, you know, the women were like, hey, what about us? Like, I want to be involved. So we were like, all right, cool. Let's do this, you know, outside the Sale House in Tarrytown, which Sean happens to own the restaurant. So we start with a cold plunge, and it's a community cold plunge, because it's much harder to get into a bucket of ice by yourself. It's still hard to do when everyone's around you, but when you're cheering you on, you have, you know, Mike Press, who's actually here with us today. He's DJing in the background, spinning something nice for us, motivating us. It creates that community feel. Then from there, we work out together. and we do something hard together, right? We challenge one another, and then we break bread and have brunch together. So those are typically our 2 monthly events that we have. And then we have our exclusive summits, our leadership summits, which is a higher price point ticket, anywhere between like $1,500, $4,000 for a 3-day experience. Oh, cool. It includes like all meals, accommodations, and we bring in a lot of speakers that are experts in their field, whether that's health and wellness space. We had Joe Girardi. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Joe Girardi. Is Diamandi Alingos, who's a former VP of the UFC, Michael Chernow, Jake Zemer, a lot of guys and females who come out and kind of give that expert-led training.
That's really cool. Yeah. That's awesome. That's in New York or?
Yeah, so the next one will actually be October. Cool. First weekend in October in Windham Mountain. We'll get the entire hotel out there and make it a nice experience.
It's far from here? I don't know.
From here, I don't really know where we are right now, to be honest.
Right.
It took us about an hour to get here. So wherever we are right now compared to Windham Mountain might be an hour or 2 hours.
That's cool. That's really cool. I think I've never done one of those, but I think that's really, I've seen like other people do them. Brian Mazza does them. I don't know if you know Brian, but he owns HPLT. He does them, and I think that they're really cool. I feel like just being around those like-minded people and like entrepreneurs and being able to hear from, we were talking about before, like going to a mastermind event. Like some of them are huge. You have like 10, 15,000 people. You're paying maybe for a VIP ticket anywhere from 10 to 15,000 a ticket to get there. And you don't even get to talk to somebody. So I feel like for somebody who's looking to get access to higher level people, like that's a great place to start. That's not too expensive, for a ticket. Yes. You save up for that, and then you get a more intimate experience with high level, leaders to be able to learn from. And it's over 3 days. So, and I'm assuming you guys like work out and. Yeah, we do everything. I mean, first thing in the morning, we'll do a cold plunge and a workout. We'll probably work out twice throughout the day. You mentioned Brian. Brian does a form of this, but his is strictly like fitness events. Yes, it is.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, and HPLT is actually in the building of the Body Blueprint, which is owned by Vin Maselli. Vin Maselli is a partner in Action Cultivates Excellence.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
really
small world there.
Yeah.
A lot of people do the fitness style of things, but they're not doing the vulnerability work that we're doing.
Yeah.
So it's a full day from like 6 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night.
That's dope.
Packed with, not only like wellness activities, but more so like, connection, like intimate connection, like you were talking about. And a lot of the guys, they end up doing business together too, which was something that was a piece of this that we did not realize was going to be as big as it is, right? Like people want to do business with individuals that they trust.
Yeah.
What other way to build trust with somebody than staying in a spot with them for 3 days, and learning
and opening up
exactly and learning every single thing that they've struggled with in their life and how they've been able to break through. So the trust factor I think is huge, and then creates that level of so business that's being done.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think that is key. What you said, the breakout sessions that you do, where you guys, what are those things called?
VBDs, vulnerability breakthrough developments.
So how, if somebody's watching, how could somebody do that at home for themselves if they're not around?
To do it by yourself would be hard.
Okay.
You would need one other person at least.
Okay.
It's an accountability thing, right? You can have an accountability partner. But basically, I would advise you take somebody that you trust, that you love, that you know, or it could be somebody that you don't really know, but you trust their expertise, and just kind of unload on something that you're struggling with and be able to receive feedback. Because a lot of the guys, when they come to this, they don't know the other guys. And this isn't something that like I just sit and lead or Sean sits and leads. This is where like we're opening up, having a conversation. And it's like, hey, look, like, a couple of years ago, I went through a really bad breakup. And not me, I'm just giving an example, right? Hey, a couple of years ago, I went through a really bad breakup. Like, does anybody like resonate with that? And then one guy will jump in and be like, wow, like, I know exactly what that's like. And then this guy will be like, well, how'd you break free from that?
Yeah,
like, how did you get out of that toxic environment? And then it's just like, you're firing back ideas between one another. So it's really just an accountability forum.
Yeah.
But we just do it on a more like expert level, because we do have like mental health counselors that are there.
Yeah. That's really awesome.
Yeah. And also the experience, that Sean and I hold, like in just terms of life, we cover pretty much the span of everything.
A lot.
Yeah, like, you know, whether it's health and wellness, whether it's death, whether it's grief, whether it's divorce.
Yeah.
Like between the two of us, we've been through it.
Which is cool. I mean, it's kind of like a group, like it's like
a business meeting for your personal life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's cool because you like throw out like what you're struggling with, and then you have like all these guys who are like telling you like
Helping
what you could do better based on
exactly.
what everybody else has done based upon it, which is, you know, it gives you at least maybe like 2 or 3 things that you could do from different perspectives that may work for you. Maybe this guy's situation doesn't work for you and this one doesn't, but maybe this guy's situation will help you a little bit get through your situation.
Sometimes it's just, we get a lot of guys who have never been to therapy before.
Yeah.
Right. I actually I believe heavily in therapy, right? Like I started getting into everything after I put in probably 6 to 7 years of therapy on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
But like I said, coming up, I was 15, 16 years old, had a really terrible experience with therapy. I sat literally across from a therapist with somebody in my family, and my family member completely lied to the therapist. The therapist told me that I was basically the problem, and like it was my anger issues and this and that, and it was just a complete. And then I found out that individual was going to lunch with the therapist, and like it was really bad. So I was like, I'll never go to therapy.
Right.
But for a lot of the guys,
But that's where it starts for a lot of people, to be honest.
Yes, they've
like
never
that.
been to therapy before,
Yeah.
but I can tell you it's the most gratifying thing when you're able to like sit confidently and just talk.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys, they come not even to look for solutions to their problems. They just want an outlet, right? Like, because what you say is confined between those 4 walls, doesn't really leave. So being able to have a guy who has been taught from 5 years old, like, yo, if you're crying, stop crying right now.
Right.
Right? Like, you just got hit hard on the football field, like, get up and do it
keep
again.
going.
Whereas, you know, we're not saying don't get up and do it again.
Right.
But like, it's okay to talk about the things that you're struggling with,
Yeah.
right? Like you can say, yo, look, I need some water. I'm hurt right now.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And I'm very mindful of that even with my daughter now. You know, she's getting into like T-ball and, you know, sports for the
so
first
fun.
time. And when she falls, like I make sure like not to tell her like, hey, don't not cry. Like, you know, it's okay.
Like hide it. Like,
Yeah,
don't
take
do
a couple
that.
seconds, take a few deep breaths, and that's also things that I just practice in my own life. But my point is, a lot of the guys, they come and they just want a little release. So even if they're not looking for feedback, they're really just looking to get comfortable
Dump on someone else.
just talking to somebody.
Yeah, I could attest to that. I mean, when I was younger, I went to therapy too, and at my current stage in my life, I probably I just went through a breakup, and I feel like I should have gone to therapy, but because of my younger self, I was like, no, I do not. Like, I mean, when I was young, it was like an old person I was sitting across from at the table, and like I did not want to talk to this old man about, and I'm like, I don't know, 8 maybe, and I didn't want to talk to like this weird old guy sitting across
You went through
from
a
me.
breakup at 8?
No. When I was young, I went to.
All right, wow, you got some experience.
I can't.
This is life.
I went to therapy when I was a kid, and I wouldn't go back to therapy when I had my
when
breakup.
you had the breakup,
now.
got you.
Just because I do believe in it, but I also believe in finding the right person.
Yes.
You know, because I feel like there's so many therapists out there that are like, I don't know.
They're just
like,
in it for the money.
How do you find the right one? Like and that I think is what most people are scared of, because I think that it's not like that therapy is scary, but it's like, who are you talking to? You know, how do you know that they're like qualified, or like that they're,
or they can resonate with
they could resonate with you.
saying.
Yeah, they may look at you and be like, what the fuck? Like, that's crazy, you know? So I feel like that's more of what it is. Like, how do you find the right person, more than like, I don't want to talk to somebody, you know?
Are you asking me or?
No, I'm just saying, like, in general, I feel like that's what people do, but I don't like, how do you find find the person that you loved for 7 years that you?
I mean, there was a couple, you know, I had a relationship counselor at the time, and then I liked it so much what it was doing for my life. I had to find somebody, for my own.
Yeah.
But yeah, I specifically wanted a male, who had some family experience. And yeah, I kind of like vetted them out, you know, and I do remember, you know, having a couple conversations with individuals that like it didn't necessarily line up. And I think that's okay. Don't just go to therapy just to go to therapy, because then
people say
then you're not going to be,
like,
and you're not going to be authentic.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where I think the goal of therapy is like really you being able to just be yourself and kind of just unload on somebody else who's like not judgmental or doesn't hold any
totally.
bias in it.
Yeah, because I think that, even everybody's scared that they're going to be judged today in a normal world. So I can't even imagine how it feels like sitting across from somebody and you're about to dump like your whole life on them. And you're also thinking, what the hell are they going to think? So people don't want to be judged. That's the last thing that they want to be doing in society in general. So I think that that's huge as well. What do you think it takes in today's world to be an entrepreneur?
To be an entrepreneur is tough. It's really tough.
Definitely.
Like even from my entrepreneurial lens, like I build on the side because I believe in a full-time gig for me, right? Like because I do need that level of consistent income. I happen to work in local government as well. So like I have a good benefits package, and that stuff is important to me. One, because of my health, but two, because I have a child, so like I'm not willing to take the same risks now that I was at, maybe 21, 22 years old. But I think it comes down to passion and purpose creates fulfillment.
Yeah.
Right. And anybody can go out and make $1. Right. But if I were to advise anybody in the entrepreneurial space, like do something that is going to impact somebody, because when you impact somebody else, what that does for you is times 10.
Yeah.
Life is like a boomerang.
Yeah.
And the more that you help people, God helps you.
Comes back tenfold, yeah. Of course.
Tenfold, 100%. So, to answer the question, I would say entrepreneurship is hard. It's definitely not easy by any means. We've been lucky to, in the first year of business, like we generated over $100,000 in business, which sounds good. We didn't profit anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. Because, we're renting out locations that are thousands and thousands of dollars, paying speakers to come. So just because, and that's the other thing, right? Just because you're making 6 figures in a business, that's not really what you're taking home. But if you can do something that you really enjoy, and like you wouldn't have to pay, like you're not paying me to come here, right? Right? Like unless you're going to cut me a check. I enjoy this stuff.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people, you get to a point to where like, okay, I'm only going to do this if I'm getting paid. Whereas I'll continue to do this even when I'm not getting paid because I enjoy it so much.
I agree. We've reached out to a couple people that we had on our podcast, and they sent over like their package of like what they charge. So many people do it, and I didn't realize that so many people did it. Like even like the bigger people, I guess like the more of a following they have, like the more they are felt to like get paid from it. Like the bigger people, like the people that have like 100, 200,000 followers, 300,000 followers, like you'll see like those people, they'll send over their media package
Doesn't
of
mean
like
anything.
Of course.
if you want to like have us on the podcast. And I don't know if you know Anne what's her last name, Malamois. She sold Solid Core.
I know Solid Core. I don't know the name.
So she's the owner of Solid Core, and like we asked to have her on the pod, but like she like wanted like a crazy number, and I understand because she's like she's doing motivational speeches across the world, but it was just like that much for an hour podcast. I was like, damn, if only,
But see, that's the beauty of podcasting, because she, for whatever reason at this time, is not for you or your audience.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, and that's fine. You may get to a point that you want to pay somebody to do that.
Yeah.
I don't pay anybody to come on my podcast. I'll be very transparent with you. I don't care if you have 1 follower or 7 million. And I've spanned that range. And then I work with a lot of high powerful individuals. People will help you out if they want to. Right?
Agreed.
But if it's a business play, that's cool too. Like it's fine. They just aren't willing to help you out on that level. But hopefully in their life, they're helping somebody else out. Right. Because hopefully they wouldn't be charging everybody to have a conversation. I think that's the beauty of podcasting, though. You can have access to very high level conversations for free.
For free. I agree. And anybody could go on to YouTube or iTunes and just listen to us for free. I feel like now they started that new thing, and I hate it, to be honest with you. It's
subscription based.
And
like
you
Patreon
have to like
that,
Patreon, that's exactly what it is. But now like people are having to get like, if they want, I guess, more conversations or go listen to any of the podcasts, now they have to pay. And I feel like that takes away from everything that podcast is doing. Like that was where people could go to listen to people for free and not have to pay $10,000 for a mastermind ticket because they didn't have it, and I feel like that's taking away a little bit from
I think a lot of new podcasters are messing up by doing that, to be honest.
Putting that first instead of growing.
Yeah, well, I think community is everything, right? Like we touched on community a little bit.
But sometimes you have to build that
something
free
for
first.
me, like the NO Snooze family that got behind my stuff, like I would feel funky, you know, kind of charging them for it. At some point you may get to that and want to do that. But like for me, the opportunities that have come back through doing a free platform for individuals have been
There's more than you're ever going to charge.
Unbelievable. So like, and again, we have, you know, options that we do charge for different things. And I do a lot of one-on-one coaching and consulting and all that stuff is like paid work. But I think a lot of new podcasters get in the game and they think it's about making money. And really it's not. It's about influence and impact.
Yeah. I agree, because even like we started this podcast not for the fact of like, oh my God, we're gonna go make $1 million this year from subscribers on YouTube. Like I think we have like 100 on YouTube.
That's
you know,
great.
And it's not like that's not what we're here for. You know, like
but
we're
if you
not
put 100
to talk
people in
about
a
it,
room,
you know?
that's a lot of people.
It is a lot of people, and I mean, like I don't downplay it, but I just want to meet like cool people like you that just want to have conversation and give value and learn, and you know, like that's what it's about. That'll take you places that, you know, the dollar that everybody's paying a month will ever take you, you know? So I think that that's big. I think one thing that you talked about that I wanted to talk about was you have another job besides your whatever you do, entrepreneurial businesses. I think that a lot of people always say like, jump all in if you want to do something entrepreneurial, and people like look at you funny if you're like doing two things or like have a main
Can I stop you there? Who tells you that?
I
and where do you see that?
So I've seen, like, I've just heard people in like based on like maybe like on Instagram or YouTube, or I don't know, I started trading like stocks and stuff like that. And like that community, it was a very toxic community. But when we were in that community, like people would be like, you know, like you're not like making enough money, or like look at you different if you had another gig that was like holding you up, kind of, you know?
I get what you're saying. So there's an analogy for millionaires,
and I hate
right?
that.
If you talk to a lot of millionaires, they'll tell you that most millionaires have 7 streams of income.
Correct.
But if you talk to the real millionaires that want to help people, they'll tell you that they started with 1 stream.
Yep.
Now that 1 stream created opportunity for them to invest in index funds, for them to invest in an entrepreneurial business, for them to invest in real estate, for them to diversify their portfolio. So if you're talking to somebody at the highest level, they're like, yeah, I have 7, you know, streams of income. But the reality is, to get to the 7, you needed the 1. I do think it's important to go all in when it makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can't go all in. You can't go all in unless you're talking about a cold plunge, because that part I will agree 100%. I don't put my toe in. I dive right in. I do, because I just think it's a lot easier. My mindset, and I talked to somebody who has probably held more money in his lifetime than anybody that I know. I mean, he owned nightclubs, operated very successful nightclubs in the city. There was you're familiar with Drake and Chris Brown, obviously. They had a big brawl in one of his nightclubs.
Wow.
He was, you know, making, I don't know, probably $50 million a year. Right? It was a lot of money.
Right.
Touched over $1 billion in managed assets over time. And he said the one thing that he would go back and do is get a consistent job in, whether it was government or in some field that created like a pension system for him, because he found value and believed that there was value in those first 20 years of work. Because the reality is, in the entrepreneurial world, like, yeah, there's some overnight successes, but it's not sustainable.
It's not.
Whereas if somebody gets a career at 23 years old and now you retire at 45 years old, while you started building your side hustle at 30, so you're 15 years in the game of your side hustle and entrepreneurial world, and now you also have health benefits for the rest of your life. Find me somebody that says that's stupid.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I would love to have a conversation with them. And again, there's different things. Like, if you don't need health insurance or any of that stuff for the rest of your life, then cool. But like for me, I have a child.
That's probably the biggest thing.
Right. Like, I have a child. So like, why wouldn't I want free insurance for my child?
Right. Exactly.
You know?
I agree. I think that's the one thing that like entrepreneurs don't
struggle with. That's why a lot of people keep their main career, even though they could let go of it.
Yeah, but also look at the skills, right? Like people have to, anybody listening to this podcast, you're 20 years old, you're 25, you're 30 years old, you want to be an entrepreneur, that's great. But also like, can you show up to work for somebody on time? Mm-hmm. Can you do the tasks that are given to you on time? Can you be a team player? Can you be a leader? Can you be a manager? All the skills that you learn as an intrapreneur. Have you guys ever heard that term?
Yeah.
Intrapreneur,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm both, intrapreneur and entrepreneur.
Yeah.
High-level intrapreneurs are really what run the world. Entrepreneurs don't.
Yeah, of
Because
course.
the
'cause they don't
majority
wanna
of
do-
organizations have high-level people within their organizations that are running the entire thing.
Exactly.
Small business absolutely runs locally.
Right.
But to run the world, you have big organizations, and then you have intrapreneurs that are in there, and they're highly successful
Damn
people.
hard, yeah. Mhm.
So I challenge people that the job that you're currently in, whatever it is, whether it's that 9 to 5 or anything,
Yeah.
take the skill set that you're utilizing from that job and apply it to that entrepreneurial world that you want to be in.
Yeah.
Because the majority of people that want to be entrepreneurs, they're lazy.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, I don't want to work for somebody. That's because you can't.
Yeah. And they're like,
You never tried. Yeah.
they're like, I get to make my own schedule, but like
Yeah.
they don't wake up till 12 o'clock.
But you
so,
still
like,
have to wake up and,
You're
get
supposed
after
to,
it.
you're supposed to be working 24 hours, not
Right.
not only 3, and making your own schedule. So I think that's
agree.
I actually really like that, because that's I feel like a lot of people, at least that I was listening to and like hearing from, like they want you to go all in. And I think that at our stage in life, like you're trying to like save and somewhat have like security, but like also jump in on something that you're trying to build. So I feel like having both and being able to do both consistently is what brings you to the next level. So I think that's really positive.
Yeah.
Where are we at? Do you know?
44 minutes.
Okay, cool. So what does a day in the life of Dave look like? What's the routine that has gotten you to where you are?
It's a lot of steps. I try to break it all down for you.
I'm trying to build that right
Yeah,
now. I say
yeah.
like every week I add something else onto my routine, and it's
Yeah.
like,
So the time that I wake up is either 4:45 or 5 a.m. depending. That's just a time frame that works for me. But I also wear this Whoop like we were talking about before. So
Yeah.
I do like try to pride myself on getting at least 6.5 to 7 hours of sleep. I'm definitely not one that's able to get like 8 plus just because I struggle with it.
Yeah.
Right. So first thing, boom, no snooze.
Yep.
Right away. I get up, I throw an AirPod in my ear, and I put on Joel Osteen. Right, I'm a man of faith, and this is something that, like, whether it's my faith-based podcast or a positive podcast, it's something that everybody can do.
Yeah.
Then I take this same Yeti that you see here, which is 42 ounces of water mixed with Element, and I drink that on my way to the bathroom. First thing you got to do in the morning is pee, right? So I'm actually drinking my water to be hydrated for the day. And then I go to the bathroom, I come out, I make my coffee, I sit down, and I read my Bible for a couple minutes. Now, I'm new into the Bible, so I would challenge people to find a Bible that works for them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some people like to listen to it. I actually like to read it, and I have a interpretation of the Bible. It's called Every Man's Bible.
Cool.
Get it on Amazon, but it's
easy to
specifically
read.
designed for men and the adversity that they face in their life. The Bible is by far the best personal and professional development book in the world. Any entrepreneur that can teach you any skill, or any author that has written a book, that is already in the Bible. So don't play yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And this is coming from somebody who was never a man of faith. Like I never was. But now I'm reading all this stuff. You talk about accountability, you talk about teamwork, you talk about love,
all
commitment, dedication, consistency.
That's awesome.
Anything is in the Bible.
Yep.
Then I'll take my daughter to school, right? One thing that I left off that I typically say first is that my morning routine does start the night before. I do think that proper preparation prevents poor performance.
Yeah.
So my gym clothes and my work clothes are already picked out, ready to go. So that started the night before.
Yeah.
Then I take my daughter to school and I work out. Typically I work out anywhere from like 45 minutes to an hour, 15 minutes, and I hit a 20 to 25 minute sauna after, and then I get in a cold shower. I don't have any time frame of the cold shower. After I'm done with the sauna, I turn the water to cold and I just shower. Now from there, I drive to work. On my ride to work, I'm listening to a motivational podcast, whether that's Ed Milet, Tony Robbins, E.T. the hip hop preacher, anything that's more like related to like entrepreneurial stuff, business mindset, power of positivity, anything like that. Then I walk into my office and I'm kind of like, I'm here to serve because I just took the entire morning
from
to myself.
Yes.
All right. And that was extremely important that I did that because now my job as a deputy commissioner is to really put out fires. And I don't mean that in the sense I'm a fireman by any means. I'm talking about I have a team of 25 full-time employees that are directly under me. And then seasonally, we have up to 300.
Wow.
So I work in a town where we manage $106 million. My direct budget is about $5 to $6 million. So there's a lot of decisions that need to be made on a daily basis.
Right.
But what type of leader would I be if I was not a leader of my own life?
Right.
Right. So that's my focus every day I'm at work.
Yeah.
It's like I feel more prepared to be there and handle other individuals' problems and serve the community that I work in because I've been able to do it for myself. Then from there, depending on the day, I mean, I'll have anywhere between 5 to 14 like work obligations, whether that's meetings, whether that's podcasting, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But that's where it ranges. And I do something cool at the end of my month. I actually tally up all of the opportunities that I've had to sit down with people.
That's awesome.
And typically it's in the range well over 200.
Wow.
Just
That's
200
really cool.
different
Yeah, it's
obligations. Yeah, whether that, and that's not just podcasting.
Yeah.
It's also my work meetings. I think something powerful for people to take away in business is this, and I learned this from Howard Schultz. I see that Starbucks cup over there. Yeah. So one of the CEOs of Starbucks.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he created what I took as one-on-ones with all 25 of my employees. So every single month I sit down for 30 minutes with them, and I basically ask them 3 questions. How are they doing personally? I give them a recap of the month. So how was your month?
Yeah.
And what can I do to help make your next month easier? And we sit down every single month for 30 minutes. And that's been instrumental to my growth as a leader because I get to know, my team.
Yeah.
And I've been in that specific role for about like 7 years, been with the state of New York for about 14. So I still got some time to go, but I got a little skin in the game.
Yeah.
And then I go home. I'll either pick up my daughter if I have her or not. And then I typically cook, and I'll eat something very simple. I either eat a steak and salad or chicken and salad. And that's my dinner for the night. And then I kind of wind down. I do not have a specific nightly routine.
Okay.
I find that for me personally, my day is so regimented that for me to also implement this level of a nightly routine, I'll feel like a robot.
Burnout.
Yeah.
I'll literally feel like a robot. So I actually just pride myself on kind of just taking my evening really slow and light, until I fall asleep. I did start watching like an old school show. You guys are probably too young. Grey's Anatomy. You heard of it?
Oh yeah.
I've heard of it, never seen
But
it.
like I never watched it coming up. I started like diving into that, but then I started getting weird dreams because they're cutting people open and stuff. So I stopped doing that. And I'll just watch kind of, a little trash TV for maybe 30 minutes. And honestly, my days are so long. By the time my head actually hits the pillow,
I know.
I'm knocked out.
Gone.
So I typically wrap up my
I
nights by
time
like
block
9,
for my days,
9:30.
and sometimes when I time block for like too long or like until my night, like I feel like a robot and I like crash on Sunday. And I'm like, I want to do absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
so
it
it's
is.
definitely a balance.
I think that that's really cool though, because if this is going to be a bold statement, but if every government leader took the morning to do what they had to do like you do and focus on themselves and then go into work, I think that this world would be a way different place.
Yeah,
And I think
politics
that
is
is
nasty, right?
yeah, it is. But I think that that's like huge, I think that enables you to go in and like serve your people and essentially like New York better than you would just rolling in and stopping at a coffee place and grabbing a donut and driving to work, I just feel like that's really huge. And I'm sure that your people see it based on maybe who was there before you or, years ago. But I think that that's really huge. Before we end, could you just give like one thing that if we were going to start in leadership, if somebody wanted to start as a leader, like where they should, besides leading their life first and being that person, where do they start by like leading others and like you have?
Okay, so there's a great John Maxwell quote. Know the way, go the way, show the way. First one is knowing the way. You have to begin to learn before you do anything. I think a big problem in life is that we try to teach things to people that we don't even know how to do ourselves. Now, once we learn that skill, now you go the way. Now you focus. For me, it was a period of about 7 years that I did the work every single day with a high level of intention, focus, discipline, consistency.
Yeah.
Shut your mouth, go the way.
Right.
Now, after you learn the way and now you've gone the way yourself, now it would behoove you, which means that it would be real smart of you
Yeah.
to show somebody else how to do that too.
Yeah.
Right? So the first step, though, is learning. And also one thing I wish that I did a little bit sooner is start to listen to that voice in my head. That thing that is telling you and giving you that little creative idea that you're not taking action on
Right.
is the thing that will likely change your life.
Right.
If you begin to listen to it. I've always had the life that I'm living right now was always a voice in my head that I did not follow. I didn't start following that path until I was about 27 years old. And I knew that at age 35, I was going to have like a breakout year for me.
Yeah.
And not even financially, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about in general. Like I feel very fulfilled with my life. Like it doesn't matter if I'm on this podcast or if I'm on Michael Chernow's podcast, which I was just on. I'm going on Kenny Santucci's podcast with great opportunities. I feel such a high level of fulfillment being able to talk to individuals and hopefully serve somebody.
Yeah.
So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you for coming on the pod. Yeah, thank you. That was
Absolutely.
awesome.
I would just encourage you guys, keep going.
Thank you.
Don't stop. It seems like you guys got the drive. I love the name Double the Hustle. And yeah, I mean, if there's anything that I can do for you guys, I'm happy to help out.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Twins out.